Well, hey everybody, BobbyD here. Welcome to the show. Appreciate y'all joining me. We're going to have a good time this episode. You caught me out here working on my pungo, getting her cleaned up, getting her ready for a new season of kayaking. It's gorgeous weather out here. I'm in my element and I'm having a good time getting ready for a new spring. Regardless of whether or not you're brand new into the hobby of kayaking or you have been an old sea dog and been doing it for years, this is the time of season when you start going through all your gear, checking everything out, making sure that it's ready to serve you well. Because the last thing you want to do is hit the water and find out that some vital piece of equipment that you will come to rely on isn't going to be available. But first and foremost, you want to make sure you have your required equipment. Depending on your region, there's two items in particular that you really make sure you want to have. And that's a personal flotation device and a whistle. In my case, I carry a personal flotation device in the form of this manually inflatable one. I use it because of my husky bulk. I have a tendency of get pretty constrained when I'm out on the water. I like the convenience of that. Wait, I need to point out something about these inflatable PFDs. They're very comfortable, they're very handy. They're good if you're going to be only using it in a dire emergency. Manually activated is the way to go. Never use an automatic, because being in a kayak you have a good tendency of getting wet, getting splashed on, and these can inflate automatically just by getting wet. But you get one of these types that are manually activated, you use that quite well. Test it. Always test it. And in my case, I always have plenty of spare CO2 cylinders. I carry a spare, and I have my whistle always handy. U.S. Coast Guard, as well as most Department of Natural Resource game wardens, they require it by law that you have to have a personal flotation device and a way of being able to let people know where you're at by having a whistle. A whistle works great. In fact, here in South Carolina, you could be fined a hefty fine if you take to the water and they find that you don't have either one of those. There is a requirement, particularly in South Carolina. These inflatables are not recommended if you're going to be on something like a jet ski or in a power boat where you're going to be going at speed, or in a kayak if you're going to be whitewater rafting. Not a good idea, because you can get upset, hit a rock, and come unconscious, and then you're not going to be able to activate this. But where I paddle at, flat water, slow moving waters, the risks of getting hit by something is low as long as you stay out of the way of other boaters. And if I do get in the water, it's not going to inflate on me automatically. I can manually pull it. Plus, I'm a very good swimmer. I've got some good training experience in swimming. I'm lifeguard certified, where I had been years ago. I know how to swim, and I'm confident in my abilities. So if you're interested in wanting to use one of these inflatables, read up on the local laws that mandate the use of these, and just always be diligent, be careful. But in some areas, in most parts of the country, even these aren't recommended. And in that case, have a good standard personal flotation device as one of these. Strong and rugged and large enough to be able to fit even me. I carry this one in my cargo compartment at all times. Also, I don't like to paddle with people who don't have one. So if you have the opportunity to come paddling with me and you don't have a personal flotation device, well, guess what? You're going to be getting to wear one. I would much rather see you safe than sorry. And I don't want to have to be at risk of having to save you just because you don't have a PFD. That's everybody's opinion. Some people don't like wearing them. Some people refuse to wear them. Now, each your own. But just remember, the last thing you want to have happen to you is wishing you had something to keep yourself afloat. Next on my agenda that I always carry with me, particularly because I've got an sit-inside kayak, and that's a bilge pump. These aren't a big water squirt gun, although most people do use it as such. This is used to help bail out a boat that's been waterlogged. You flip your kayak, get it filled full of water, The last thing you want to have is the water all over inside your kayak, because it makes it very unstable. If you climb in one that's already filled with water, guess what? You're probably going to get more water in it. So you have one of these pumps, and you can pump out your kayak. Very handy. I got mine at, geez, I don't even remember where I got mine, but it wasn't all that expensive, and it's a must. I've used it not for my own kayak use, but to help bail out others that have gone belly upward. Now, these aren't necessary items that you should have, but they're very handy to have, particularly if you like to kayak in a social setting where there's a lot of people that might not be experienced in kayak and happen to get upended and they need to, in a sense, get rescued. Well, one of the smartest things you can ever purchase is a throw bag. It looks like a bean bag, but it's actually 50 feet of floating line, and you throw it at whoever's needing it, and you can be able to cast this out to somebody while you hold on to the line, and it'll play out. But having a throw line gives you a vital lifeline that you can cast ashore or cast to somebody in distress and help rescue them. Very, very handy item to have. I've never had the opportunity to use it, but I've used it with others, and that's a paddle float. Now, of course, I've practiced using these, but a paddle float is simply a bag that you can inflate with air and stick it on the end of your paddle. And what this does will provide a way of providing an outrigger. You can be able to set up your paddle so that it is tied down to by the lines, and it'll help provide stability while you try to get back into your kayak. A good little item to have is a compass. You can carry a little ball compass, attach it to your PFD. In my case, I did a good trade with a friend of mine and got this nice little sea compass that fits on my kayak. Where I kayak in, I don't necessarily need it. However, if I do get in some areas of the Waccamaw where there's a lot of trees and I'm way back in the woods somewhere, it's very easy to get turned around. And having something like a compass to be able to point your way is smart. Learn how to use it. Other than that, that's about all I've got besides my storage compartments, my pedestal that I use to mount my cameras on or smartphone on. I got waterproof bags. I use a waterproof bag to put my cell phone in, and of course I take my cell phone with me. In this day and age, there's so many apps that are available to help track your progress on the water, as well as being able to record the moment with a good camera, like I'm doing right now. But that's just a smart thing to do when you're getting ready for another season on the water, and that's to go over your gear, check it once, check it twice, make sure that everything is all ship-shape, ready to go. Well, so now that I've gotten everything all checked out, I'll be ready to take to the water and do so. And now that this weather's nice and warm, I'll be looking forward to doing this on a regular basis. This is the springtimey season when a lot of activities start heating up on the water, one of which is the local cleanups. And this is no exception around here. We've got a great number of kayakers and outdoors that love to get out here on the Waccamaw River and do cleanups. We had a group just this last weekend where they took a section of the Waccamaw and paddled all around picking up any floating trash. Got to remember, this whole area got pretty well swamped with floodwaters after the Hurricane Florence. Well, this whole month and next month is going to be having activities every weekend all up and down the river, and it's no exception. We really clean this place up. As a matter of fact, the Winyah Rivers Foundation is a very noteworthy organization that you can support. If you're in this area, you're welcome to come join us whenever we get out on the water and do river cleanups. Have a lot of fun. This next segment is showcasing some of the activity that we had last spring when we were out on the Waccamaw doing some cleanup. Well, thanks for joining me for another episode. We really appreciate it. We're all set and ready to go. Getting ready to get out on the water, have some good times. In the meantime, do me a favor, like and subscribe the show. Come back next time. Join me. I'm Bobby D, and I'm in my element.